You're listening to the Being Stellar podcast, the podcast for modern leaders and entrepreneurs who are tired of hustle culture and ready to invite more ease and more prosperity into their lives. I'm your host, Deborah Stellingwerff, master teacher and coach, and I am obsessed with helping you avoid burnout while you create a sustainable lifestyle full of possibility and profit on your terms. On the show, you'll hear inspiring stories of possibility, and you'll get empowering strategies and insights from me to support you in creating your stellar life. Hello there, stellar friends, and welcome to the Being Stellar show. I'm your host, Deborah Stellingwerff, and today I want to share with you the reasons why I have decided to rebrand the podcast that was originally called the Stellar Life Project Podcast. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the evolution of the brand and the reason why I'm changing the title, because I think that there's some learning there, certainly was for me, that by sharing this story with you, it may help you to avoid some of the pitfalls that I got caught up in here and just save you some time. That's what this show is about, is helping you to be stellar as an entrepreneur. And if I can share from my experiences, then I'm doing my work in the world to help you continue to be stellar. So when I first named the podcast, the Stellar Life Project, it was because that had been the name of my coaching business. That had been the name of the blog that originally I was using as a means of expressing myself as I was trying to figure out what to do with my life, because I was in a place where I was feeling like I wasn't fully living in my zone of genius. I wasn't fully expressing myself in the world, and I was looking for a way to do that. And one thing I knew for sure is that teaching is my zone of genius, helping people to see what is possible, helping them to believe in their own capacity for possibility and now even profit is my zone of genius. And so I knew that I had to do something with that. And so I started off with the blog, where I was simply just sharing life lessons that I had learned through being an entrepreneur, business lessons, and the like, because I am the quintessential teacher. When I say the definition of a teacher for me is somebody who cannot help but share what they've learned. So that was the reason why I created the Stellar Life Project. And it's interesting, the evolution from it being the Stellar Life Project to being stellar. I want to share that with you today. The Stellar Life Project was about doing. What could I do more of to be happier? And there was a lot of beating myself up and, weaponizing personal growth. And by that I mean using personal growth insights and tools and suggestions as a way of making myself wrong for not having already figured that out, or not having already accomplished that or become that person. And so the project was really coming from the energy of do better, do better, do better. And that has morphed over time. And I didn't even realize it was coming from there entirely, because I had kind of eased off of that. But, when I came up with the title in 2015 or 16, I decided I was going to use that, and I had this idea of creating a community called the Stellar Life Project and gathering people together and doing this online community. And then I decided I actually didn't want to do that. But I decided that after I took the advice of someone who I shared the idea with, and she's like, you should copyright that. And so I started the whole copyright process, and I did a application for copyright, and I spent a stupid amount of money on it. I think it was, I want to say $1,800. It might have been $3,000. I've forgotten. Block that out. Actually, I could look it up. But, and I say it's a stupid amount of money because it was actually one of those. I'll talk more about all of my business blunders in another podcast episode coming up soon, where I'm actually going to talk about business blunders so that you can maybe know what not to do. But it was a business blunder insofar as I didn't really have a clear brand identity. I didn't have a clear plan for where I was going with my business. And I just jumped on the idea of getting a copyright because I wanted to lock in that name. And here's the thing is that at the end, it took 4 years to get that copyright. And actually maybe took longer. I got the copyright approved earlier this year, 2022. And I think I started the whole process in 2018. And so it took about 4 years to do that copyright. And so I got the copyright. It's all locked in. I'm like, what am I going to do with this? Okay, fine. I've got a book in the works, which, by the way, ended up having another title. It's not the Stellar Life Project after all, because I wanted a title to my book that actually meant something to people. So when you hear the book From Possibility to Profit, the Entrepreneur's Guide to Maximum Impact and Income is a lot more meaningful than the Stellar Life Project, right? That you know if the book's for you when you read that title From Possibility to Profit, the Entrepreneur's Guide, you know as an entrepreneur it's for you. Whereas the Stellar Life Project, who knows what the heck that's about. So realistically, I didn't want to use that for my book title. And so I kind of put that aside. But I had already a year or so ago started the podcast. And I loved the idea of having the Stellar Life Project, which is about helping people to bounce back from and avoid burnout, to create sustainable income and systems to support them in creating an impactful business that had good income and all of those business habits, and bringing on guests who are already doing some cool stuff in the world of living in their zone of genius and making an impact while also making money, because there's such a myth out there in entrepreneurship, especially in the real estate ecosystem where I do a lot of my work, that you have to work 24/7 and just be on and drive all the time in order to be successful, which is not true. I have several of my clients who I work with who will tell you, actually all of my clients eventually get there, but we don't have to be driving ourselves into the ground and killing ourselves in order to be successful. It's just not necessary. It's not sustainable. And I'm away on a tangent, I realize that. But that's what the Stellar Life Project was about, the Stellar Life Project podcast. And the Being Stellar show is still about that. Being stellar is about really expanding fully into yourself and all you're capable of being, doing, and having without compromise and without sacrificing your well-being, your relationships, and your possibilities. And so I decided to shift. That was one of the reasons why I finally decided to shift. But what initiated this decision was actually earlier this year. There's someone who contacted me and was annoyed that I had a podcast that was similarly named to her podcast. She has a podcast called the Stellar Life Podcast, and she's a coach. She's a different kind of coach than me. We are completely different styles. And if you were to meet us, I don't think there's any danger of us being confused one for the other. She's great and she does important, wonderful work in the world. But I don't think there's any chance of the two of us being confused for the same person, or at least so I thought. And then I was at a party talking about my podcasts in general with a guy. He's got his podcast. I have my podcast. And I told him the title of my podcast. He goes, "Oh, great. What's the title? I'll follow you." And he pulled up iTunes, or not iTunes. What's it called? The Apple podcast on his phone. And her podcast came up first because hers is called Stellar Life and mine's Stellar Life Project. So if you put in Stellar Life, you're going to find hers first. Which, like, when she asked me to take mine down because the names were similar, I wasn't that fussed about it because I'm like, look, it's not going to hurt you because yours is going to come up first. And for me, the podcast is more about putting content out there for my existing clients, for people who know me. I'm not trying to become famous or monetize my podcast. I'm just trying to share my message in the world to people who want to hear it. If you're willing to let me come into your ears every week or two and share with you what I've learned, share some amazing people that I meet that I want to share with you, then I am so grateful for that. And I really do want to just be able to give you insights and things that are valuable to you. But when that day, when that guy, her name came up first and her podcast came up first, and if you know on your iPhone, if you're looking at a podcast, the little tile with the picture on it is like, what, a centimeter square? And what I realized is that you can't actually tell the difference between her and me when it's 1 centimeter square, because she also is tall, slim, and dark-haired. And so it could easily be confused. And so I decided, you know what, I probably need to do something about that, but what am I going to do? And then I was doing some work with my coach over the summer as I was deciding, actually, I had already decided to write a book, and I was in the process of getting started writing my book, and I was coming up with a lot of resistance. I'm like, what is my problem? I want to write this book, and I cannot seem to make myself sit down and actually do it. And so I brought that to my coach, and we did some coaching through that, and came to the realization there was a lot going on there, as there always is. Our resistance is fear of failure. I was afraid, well, what if I write this book and nobody wants to read it? What if I start writing this book and I don't finish it? Because then I'm going to be ashamed that I didn't finish it. And so the irony is, of course, I couldn't start it because I was so afraid I wasn't going to finish it. And in that process, my coach asked me, well, who do you want to become while you're writing this book? Not just who do you want to be, but who you want to become. And we started with the who do you want to be? And I said, who do I want to become? I want to become a published author. I want to become someone who starts that big project like that and finishes it. Because I have started a lot of projects that I haven't finished in the past. There's a lot of things I have finished, but there's also a lot of things that I've started that I've not finished. And so there's a little bit of mistrusting myself when I started this book, is like, am I really going to follow through? And so I had to set myself up for success by having some coaching around that. And in that process is when I realized, oh, this is so similar to what I do with my clients. I'm actually more interested in helping my clients expand into the fullness of who they can be on their journey to success than getting them the success. And as I said before, we get them the success. My clients have incredible success and make great impact in the world. And they are more interested in who they're becoming on the way. And so am I, because the entrepreneurial journey is a spiritual journey. It's an opportunity for you to stretch outside of your comfort zone, to become more fully yourself, and to express yourself more and more fully in the world with each action you take, with each level, income level or scaling level that you reach in your business. You're coming up against your own fears and your own limitations, and it's a wonderful thing for me to be able to be a part of that and to be able to support people in their becoming with my coaching and my coaching practice. And so I realized that, yes, that's what the journey I'm on as an entrepreneur and as an aspiring author of the upcoming book, From Possibility to Profit. And it's about who I'm becoming on the way. And this book is about helping other people, sharing what I've learned and insights to give you the shortcut, right? I've done the journey, I've done the work, and the book is like, here's the Cole's Notes version for you. Here's the Deb's Notes version for you, to make it easier for you to get to where you want to go. And anyways, so all of that to say, I've changed the title of the podcast from the Stellar Life Project podcast to Being Stellar, because it is more in alignment with what I'm doing. The focus is on the being first. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to become in that process? Because the success will follow in the being, And it's the being that moves you into the action of the doing, not the doing first. When we're in the doing first, we're often fighting against our own being. And so the doing is so much a part of hustle culture. Do more, do more, do more. You're not yet enough, so do more. And I really want us to opt out of hustle culture and opt into becoming fully yourself, opt into your possibilities, your passion, your purpose, and yes, your profits, because I believe it's really important for us to get paid well for the gifts that we share in the world, because then we can just focus on doing our work, being who we are, and not be in fear and stress over money. And that's the big part of the work that I do, is shifting us out of that, creating those profits in your business so that you have space to be more fully yourself. And here's the catch-22 is you have to take the space to be yourself first so those profits will follow. It's a simultaneous journey. It's not one or then the other. It's not that you have to do the money mindset work first, then you get to make the money. No, making the money, creating space for yourself to be with that and be in a relationship, that is the journey of being more yourself, of being stellar in the world. And I want that so much for you. So that's why we've changed the title of the show to Being Stellar. So I hope you will stay with us. I will continue to bring on stellar guests who are busy being stellar in the world themselves, who are going to share with you stories of possibility and profit, and ways that they are living in the world in their own possibility and being profitable doing so you can see what's possible as well. I will continue to share with you my teachings and tools and strategies for you to be more stellar in your own life. Nothing's changed. I'm still here. I'm still here for you. And the only thing that's changed is the title, because I want you to focus on being stellar in your life. Thanks so much for sharing your time and energy with me. If you find this podcast helpful, please subscribe, share it with people that you think would be supported by it. And I will see you again very, very soon. Keep being stellar. Bye for now.